Welcome back, everybody. Welcome back to another match reaction. Manchester City 0. Yes, 0. Somehow. Don't know how we didn't score in the last 10, 15 minutes, but it is what it is. But Manchester City 0, Inter Milan 0. It's just kind of boring, kind of predictable in terms of the way the game was going to go for both sides. I'm not really going to go in too hard on players. I don't think that's right. I don't really think there's much wrong. Maybe a couple. I will actually talk about a couple because there was a couple of moments that need to be addressed. But I'll get into all that. Do me a massive favour. Please leave a like on this video. It's massively appreciated. And subscribe if you are new. So close to 10k. But yeah, man, let's just get into it. Let's just break it down. I mean, look, we knew that this was going to happen. We knew that Inter were going to play this way. You'd have to be an idiot to think that this is not how the game was going to go. We literally played him in the Champions League final. It went the same way. Luckily enough there, we nicked a goal today. We should have done. We had multiple opportunities, big chances that we didn't take. And overall, could have won the game, but it's not the end of the world. Look, I'm not going to get angry. I'm not going to get annoyed, even though it's 0-0, and I would have preferred a win because it's a home Champions League game. Get the points on the board at home. And, just get off to a good start in the Champions League, qualify as soon as possible, be the aim here. But I can't really blame players. I can't really go in and stick it on players because, I mean, let's be clear, Inter Milan just packed the bus. Like, it was very, very difficult to break them down. We did a couple of times, we didn't take the chances, but it was so difficult to really get anything clear cut. There were so many bodies in the way. Cost back 5 with the 3 in midfield. It was like 8 players in the box at times for Inter. It was disgusting. It was not an enjoyable watch, and I suppose that's one for the City make football boring. Group, those people that like to say that we make football boring. Just watch the games. You realise it's not us that make it boring, it's the teams we play against. Look, we are accustomed to playing against low blocks. It happens. But when it's a good side, because Inter Milan are a good side, be real. Champions of Italy, they can play football. At times they did play football. You can see there, they are more than capable of playing football, playing out and being an aggressive team. And they were aggressive in the way they defended, but going forward, it was just, counter-attacks. But they could do more than that. But their game plan was still obviously going to be soak up the pressure, try and hit on the counter-attack. And it worked to an extent. I think they'll be happy that they got a 0-0. I think that obviously they would have preferred a win as well. But I think knowing that they are away from home against one of the tournament favourites, 0-0, they'll be happier than us. With the 0-0, they'll take it. I mean, again, credit to Inter Milan. I'm not slagging them off and saying they're boring, it's anti-football, it's this, that. They're still one of the most boring sides I've seen come and play us. They're still one of the most boring. I still think it's topped by Atletico Madrid and Arsenal. Those two, Arsenal at home last season, Atletico Madrid, 3-4 years ago at home, the 5-5 Atletico Madrid. It was just... They're two that I can name off the top of my head that were worse in terms of playing against and watching, in terms of the way they set up. But, Inter still, when they did counter, they were threatening. They had players forward. They had willing runners. They had overloads. They had, mismatches. There were times where they were, 3-on-2 or 4-on-3. Because they had players sprinting forwards, getting ready to break. So credit to them, their game plan worked. But again, this is exactly what they were going to do. This was the blueprint. We should have expected this. So, fair play Inter Milan. They made it tough. We knew it was going to be like that. I'm not going to slag them off and say that they were, it's anti-football. I'm not going to do that because, again, different teams have different game plans, and they still could have scored. Edison pulled off a good couple of saves. They did have a few threats. And again, fair play to them. They have a blueprint. The thing that concerns me about that is, obviously, our next game is against Arsenal. And Arsenal were one of the teams I mentioned as being worse to play against. In terms of recent memory, that game, you will all remember that game, the 0-0, where they came last season It came to us and they played a 6-4. Possibly the worst that I have ever seen it. I've seen 2 banks of 5. I've seen a bank of 5 and a bank of 4. I've seen a lot in terms of what teams have tried to do. You had Inter Milan today. Every now and again, one of their strikers would pull wide and help defend, the wide areas, because we'd have 3 people over there, and, one of their number 9s would, drift over and help out. But you remember that Arsenal game last season, yeah? The one at home, where they had the back 4 with 4 centre-backs. 4 centre-backs, back 4, which, can we do that? Nothing against doing that, we do it. And then you had both of the wingers basically playing, at least defensively, as fullbacks. You had a back 6. So if you think this was bad, if you're losing your head and you're disappointed and you're angry and you're upset about a 0-0 draw against Inter Milan where, we missed a couple of chances, it was hard to break them down, but we did it a couple of times. Brace yourself is all I'm saying, because Arsenal are going to do, I can guarantee it now, especially with the injuries that they've got. And again, the way they did it last year, even without the injuries, and with all of our injuries last year, do you remember that game? Again, I'm going back to old memories, but that game at home against Arsenal last season, we had multiple injuries defensively. We had players that were playing off of, we had no one else. And we were there for the taking, and Arsenal still sat back and parked the bus. So if you think that game on Sunday is going to be any different, it's not. Arsenal are going to do the exact same thing. Arsenal are going to sit back, they're going to soak up the pressure, and they are going to potentially counter-attack and do the exact same thing. So again, if you're losing your head over this result, I am praying for what's going to go through your head on Sunday, because it's going to be the exact same thing. And that is kind of where most of my sort of disappointment comes with it being 0-0 and us not looking totally like, we had more of the ball. We still had, big chances that we could have scored. But, realistically, Arsenal are just going to come do this on Sunday. So if we struggle today, then we're going to struggle again on Sunday. We need to figure out something, something that we can do to counteract this, because Brentford did it. They had a bit of joy. We beat them because we have better players. Inter did it. We had a bit of joy. Didn't take our chances. The teams are more evenly matched. Arsenal, again, teams are more evenly matched. They do this. We're probably going to have some chances. It's whether we can take them. You know what I mean? It depends whether we're on it. So I'm not asked about the result in terms of this game. It was more just sort of how this leads into other games that we're going to play. So that's kind of my thing. And then talking about creating chances, of course, 2 subs at half-time. I feel like I have to mention it. Kevin De Bruyne, look, it was always going to happen at some point. He was always going to come down with some sort of injury as he's getting older. Had, numerous injuries in the past. Just come off of a major surgery. So of course that's not great. Of course, I don't think he was totally on it, but he still, unlocked the defence a couple of times, balls in dangerous areas. But losing him ahead of Arsenal is obviously a big blow. He has a phenomenal record against Arsenal. And again, if Arsenal will be doing the same stuff that Inter did, we need someone to unlock that door. And not having him is a big blow. And then Savio obviously going off at half-time. It didn't look like he was injured. I'd be interested because, press conferences are kind of happening as I'm speaking. So I don't know whether it was tactical, whether it was through injury, I don't know. But it is becoming a little bit of something that I am getting a little bit sick of, is we are 5 games in for the season and Savio's already come off at halftime twice. And he's already been injured twice, 3 times, if you count the cramp against Brentford, which, let's be honest, doesn't really count. He was in training, regular training as normal, pretty much straight away after. So that doesn't count. But 2 injuries. Look at the Chelsea game, off at half-time, injured. Look at the West Ham game, not in the squad, injured. We're 5 games in, he's had 2 injuries, and he's been subbed at half-time twice. Nothing wrong with his performance, nothing wrong with the type of player, the way he plays, his performances. They've all been really good. I've been really impressed. But I always say this, and I will continue to say it, the best form of ability is availability. And if he can't keep himself fit, then we've got a problem. Because how can you rely on this and play this player, him be one of your starters if he's just going to be injured? Of course, at the moment it's kind of like, he's in the side because of the players that we have fit, and Bernardo's been in the middle, Foden's not back yet. You've got Doku, but he's better off the left. Those sorts of things. Oscar Bob is injured, so he's probably the most suited to being out there at the moment. But again, if he keeps getting injured, there's nothing really we can do about it. And then just quickly, because I kind of rambled on a little bit, but I said I'd speak on players. 3 missed chances, 3 big chances missed in the last 10 minutes. We had Foden, who had a shot basically on the penalty spot. He put it straight at the goalkeeper. Should have done better. Again, either side, that's a goal. Either side, that's a goal. Has to be doing better. I'll cut him a little bit of slack because this is I believe it's his first appearance since Chelsea, since he was ill and missed that chunk of time. So I will, cut him some slack. I'll be kind and say he's only played 2 halves of football all season, and one of them was the first game of the season. So I'll cut him some slack. He should be doing better. But, of course, he's still getting into the swing of things. And then Gundogan, a little bit less so. He's played off the bench a couple of times now. And it was the 2 headers. The second one, you've already had the first one. So, you can't say you're not expecting it. First one, you can maybe get away with, or he wasn't expecting it to come. But again, that first header, straight at the goalkeeper. It puts it either side of the goalkeeper. And we're 1-0 up with 2 minutes left of regulation until injury time. And then the second one, in injury time. Maybe slightly harder, but again, free header. Balloons it. I know he's, not known for his head, and he's a small midfield player, but he's free. He's open. We're not getting many chances. The ball's falling to you. Got to be taking one of them. And those are the 3 big chances for me where I'm looking at and going, on a different day, maybe if it falls to someone else, or, if Foden has more minutes in him throughout the season, or if Gundogan, if that game took place in April and we're in a title race, Gundogan probably scores it because that's what he does. But overall, I'm not going to go in too hard because I'm still disappointed that we didn't score because we had the chances at the end of the game, especially to score. But overall, there's no head loss. I'm calm. I'm more concerned about what this means for Arsenal, the Arsenal game on Sunday, given that. Again, they're just going to play like this, and if we're struggling here, then we're probably going to struggle on Sunday. But, Arsenal game was always going to be tough. They're always going to be tough regardless. We could have won 2-0 here, and, Arsenal would have still been tough. But, look, that's kind of my thoughts on the game. You let me know yours in the comment section below. Again, I'm not too bothered. My head is calm. I'm clean. I'm not raging. I'm not disappointed. It's not going to ruin my night. But it's not a good sign that we've played 2, sit back 5s and counter-attacking teams in a row, and we struggled against both of them, and we're about to play Arsenal, who are going to do the exact same thing. So I hope Pep can figure something out. Hope the players can work on a bit of finishing, score some goals, because realistically we should have won the game. We should have won the game tonight, but we didn't. But I'm not too bothered about that again. So look, listen, you let me know your thoughts down in the comment section below. If you do me a massive favour, please leave a like on your way out. It'd be massively appreciated. And subscribe if you are new. We're on the road to 10k. Stuff happening there, potential giveaways, etc., etc. And I will see you in a couple of days to talk about the Arsenal game.